What's up, Net Soldiers? I'm Net Alliance here with the Net Wife. As you can see, we're married, so I decided to have her in the video because we watched the Fast and Furious movies over the last couple weeks, and we got them all checked out, and we have our rank right here on this paper. Now the thing is, we both have our different opinions, so we ranked them at different spots. So the way that we came to this ranking, this overall ranking with both of our ranks combined, was we actually gave a point for every rank someone had. So if you're ranked 8, you have 8 points. If you're ranked 1, you have 1 point. So the less points, the better, essentially. So that's what this list has. So we're gonna jump right into it. You ready?
Ready, Freddy. I'm cute.
Cut it, cut it. Coming in at number 8, we have Too Fast, Too Furious. Now for me, this one felt like a total cash grab compared to the other series, or the rest of the films in the series, I should say. When it comes down to it, the second one felt like Need for Speed, the movie, but they made a Need for Speed movie, but like the old 2000 Need for Speed movie, you know, like the crazy flashy colors and stuff, and just like the story itself was just kind of lame. Do you know what I mean? It felt like a sequel they made because, hey, the first one made a lot of money and people loved it, let's make another one, woo!
I did not like the villain at all. The villain,
yeah, he was weak.
Like, I like to be interested by the villain and to actually, like, I don't know, I like the mystery of it. He just was a douche and
Yeah.
Oh.
He was just a rich jerk.
Yeah.
Which a lot of characters on there are.
Yeah.
But there isn't, like, he wasn't a complex character in my opinion.
Yeah,
So.
like I couldn't get attached to him at all. So I was kind of like, okay, is he gonna die yet?
Although I will say that Paul Walker in this second film, he looks really cool. You know, like I think that's like the coolest he's looked in the entire franchise.
Yeah.
So that's a plus for him.
He was
Plus-
cute. He
plus-
looked like my honey.
Oh, oh shucks. Oh. And so with that said, I mean, there is like 1 or 2 pros, but just like 1 or 2 pros doesn't help this entire film. It's just kind of very meh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, didn't
So
like it.
that's why it's number 8 on our list. For me, the reason why I have this as low as it is because it kind of felt very like Hollywoodish. Do you know what I mean? And that's hard to, that's a tough thing to say about the Fast and Furious because the Fast and Furious had become very Hollywood wise. You know what I mean? Like that's like their thing now, to make it more like a movie and less realistic. But although I would say Jason Statham's cool, I think the villain is cool because he's the bad guy in the 7th one. So it is interesting to see what happens later, but we'll get to that when we get to that. But I do think he was a very good villain, but I think the rest of the story was just kind of like meh. Now they did a good job incorporating Paul Walker into the film because, you know, he died halfway through. So yeah, rest in peace, buddy.
I cried.
Pour some out
I
for the
cried
homie.
a lot.
No, I'm not actually pouring it. No, don't pour it. It's a studio. We don't do that.
That made me cry at the end. Not
Yeah,
gonna lie.
it was a good
Because I was you were so attached to Paul Walker. So like,
he was the original.
seeing that
He was
last-
the original. The senior girl.
Yeah.
I think there was a fitting send off for him.
Yeah, I felt like he died with honor.
Yeah.
So.
What is your negative about the 7th film? Would you say?
I agree. It was too Hollywood. Like everything was just so bam.
Yeah.
Like okay, calm down a little bit. Calm down.
Another thing is like it felt very reminiscent of the 6th one too.
I prefer the 6th over the 7th. That's
Yeah.
pretty much how it goes. Like out of the 2, that one was better made. It was pretty much a worse remake.
So moving on to our number 4. Oh, 5. What did we say? Those are 7. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're at 6. Moving
What's
on.
in here?
At number 6, we have Fast and Furious 4. Now, the thing is, this was the one that really made the franchise turn Hollywood. Do you know what I mean? Before that, it was underground street racing and all that type of stuff. You know, paying a lot of money and doing races, essentially. And that's pretty much what it was. It was more of a crime thing, but it was like, you love the characters, right? And then they made this more of a Hollywood thing, bringing back Vin Diesel into the franchise, and that's kind of what kicked it off to what it is today. So you actually had this at your number 7th rank. Why did you rank that so low?
Well, I felt like it was very unnecessary to kill Letty off. I felt like, and then they brought her back, and I was like, okay, if you kill her off, just keep her gone, because like, it had more of an impact that she stayed gone. You know, if she would have stayed gone, I think it would have affected me a lot more, but then she just came back, and I don't know, I felt like it didn't have to happen, you know? That's why I ranked it so low. It just kind of bothered me, because I don't know.
Well, you also said it was kind of forgettable too.
It was, I didn't even,
Compared
I didn't
to
even remember.
compared to some of the other ones, especially, like it was kind of forgettable. Which I'll agree, it was more of a forgettable film. Like when you think of like the Fast and Furious franchise, a lot of them seem to mold together because, especially later ones, because they are so similar. But when it comes down to it, like ones like 5, for instance, that kind of like has its own thing going on. You know, it feels different, but then like some of the other ones are kind of the same. So that one kind of falls into the forgettable category. You know what I mean? Because of that. So, and that's why we have that at our number 6. At number 5, we have Fast and Furious 3: Tokyo Drift. Now the thing about this was, I go to watch Tokyo Drift, and it turns out that a lot of people don't like Tokyo Drift. And so I'm like, after I watched it, I went in thinking, oh, it was gonna be awful. But then it was actually pretty good. It was actually
It was my 3rd.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid film. The only reason I have it, I actually have it at my number 7. The only reason is that because I like some of the other ones more than this. I actually think this is a pretty solid film, and I remember hearing people always crapping on it, but it really, I don't think it deserves that. So I think it's pretty good. What do you think?
Yeah, I really liked it. Like, I like how intense it was. I like,
and the introduction like Han and
stuff. Yes.
Han's a good character. So.
Yeah, I love him. I also like that it kind of was based more on, I mean, all the movies you needed technique, but like it kind of showed how hard drifting actually was.
Yeah.
So it seemed like more of a challenge. Once he finally overcame it, I loved it. I liked that aspect.
That was a good point.
That he conquered something that he just couldn't, you know.
He was on the bottom, and now he's the top. I started at the bottom, now we here.
Yeah.
Started at the bottom, now my whole team here. As the kids say,
I could be famous.
Now at our number 4, we have Fast and Furious 8. Now this is the newest one that just came out. You got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jason Statham going up against Vin Diesel and Charlize Theron. So personally, I thought it was pretty fun. I think it wasn't great, but I had a fun time watching it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing about Fast and Furious movies are they've now officially hit the point where like they're like Transformers. You know, you just kind of turn off your brain and just watch. You know, there is more clever stuff going on in this one compared to the last few, but I do think that it's a fun watch. Yeah. I like the fact that Dwayne Johnson kind of took more of a notable role in it too. You know, he kind of really improved the film in my opinion. So that's what you were talking about too, right?
Yeah. I love him in all the like. Once they added him, I thought it added like more of a comic relief.
Yeah.
And I love his character. Like I like that he can kind of mold into anything. You know, you don't really know.
You throw The Rock in anything, it succeeds.
Yeah, and you don't know whose side he is on. But towards the end of the 8th film, I like that it seemed like he was on their side and he became more family oriented.
I also like the dynamic between like Jason Statham's character, which is Deckard, the bad guy. Well, the bad guy in the 7th one, and The Rock's like thing. Because if you guys remember from the 7th film, you know, they get in a little tussle and like The Rock gets wounded by him. You know, Jason kills Han. I forgot about that. So that's like one of those things where it's like, how can he be a good guy now if he did all these bad things? But then you find out like, well, this is why he did this and this and that. So they definitely made him out to be a better person in this one, which makes sense because Deckard's supposed to be a hero now in this film. So it was also pretty interesting to see his brother in the end too. Did you know that was his brother from the 6th film?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, that's not his brother, is it? Oh my god, that is his brother.
Yeah.
So it's like the villains from the 6th and 7th film are now the good guys.
Yeah, so, I like that too.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I like that he saved Vin Diesel's son. I also like that they added that he had a son because I felt like it kind of raised the stakes.
Yeah, sure. And the new one had the balls to kill off that girl.
I know, that was a surprise for me, honestly, because she was a pretty main character.
And she was hot.
Yeah.
It was sad to see her go, but besides that, I do think the film was a fun thing.
I love how he took out the sub.
Yeah, the submarine destruction was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. I wasn't expecting it.
It was definitely over the top, but that's what the Fast and Furious films are now.
I kind of expected it after the 5th one. I'm like, okay, this is how it's gonna be.
They gotta keep raising the stakes though, so I think they're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I think so too.
At number 3, we actually have Fast and Furious 6. Now this one was surprising when I was adding up our points, but it actually comes down to that's actually my 3rd favorite film, and I think the reason why I like it so much is because of they tried more with like creating this new story. I actually liked Charles' brother. I thought he was a pretty interesting villain. It was a smarter film. Now I wouldn't say it's as smart as the 5th film because the 5th one had like all that that like we're gonna do a heist and all that stuff, but this was more like, hey, now we're good guys. You know what I mean? Like, before we were just stealing money for ourselves, but now we gotta kind of do this to save the entire world. You know what I mean? So it kind of showed like that transitioning from like vigilante criminals to actually becoming heroes. You know what I mean? So that was pretty cool to see. Plus, when Letty did come back, I do think that the dynamic between her and Dom was pretty interesting, even up until the point where she started to remember him.
Yeah. So trying to work back their relationship back to what it was.
So that's pretty cool. But I mean, sure, there's a scene where Dom goes flying over the bridge to catch Letty and they crash into her car. You know what I mean? And
they would not survive.
And Dom's like, oh, good thing this car broke my fall. It's like, no, that car would have destroyed you. You know what I mean? You would have.
Both would not have.
Yeah. You would have splattered on the car, but.
Even though you are muscular, that would not have saved you.
But you know what's funny? As the films go on, this is kind of like off topic right now, but as the films go on, the characters become more superhuman.
They do. I don't understand.
Like by the last film, Vin Diesel and The Rock can like pick people up with one hand and throw them like 20 feet. The 7th film, Jason, he's like, that's the thing about street fights. The street always wins. And like the asphalt breaks or the parking lot just shatters.
This would not happen. The whole thing goes.
It's so bad, but it's so good how bad it is. But I don't watch it for the actual for that. I watch it for the entertainment value and the characters because the character
and the storyline. I like the storyline too. The characters and the storyline.
And our number 2 is Fast 5. So this one for me, I actually had this at number 2. She had this at number 1.
This is my favorite.
Yeah. It was definitely a very interesting film. I think it's definitely a step up from Fast and Furious 4. And I think that this was definitely the one where they're like, you know what? We can make even more money. Do you know what I mean? Like Fast and Furious 4, they were testing the waters with like the franchise and how to actually have it more like of a Hollywood setting, right? And then like Ocean's 11 with Cars.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So it was like they were making like a giant like heist movie, and I think it all comes out in the end. It's a smart film, you know what I mean? Compared to some of the Fast and Furious films, it was rather smart. So I do like that aspect about it.
I like how they all work together. I like their plot to get the safe and take it, and I love that it just had such a happy ending. Like they all literally are millionaires. They go off. They go on vacation. They start families. You know,
good point.
Like
I like that.
It just. I don't know, it's kind of, I love fairy tales, so it kind of reminds me of like a fairy tale of like Fast and Furious movies, so. Yeah.
It was good to see like them succeed, you know, because the last couple films, like, they always get crapped on, and to see them finally like.
They finally win, and it's like it helps them out throughout their whole life, and.
And the best thing is, they're not like stealing from like a good person either, they're stealing from like a bad guy. You know what I mean? So that's okay.
Yeah,
it
makes it better. It makes it okay, yeah.
So, yeah. And so, at our number 1 rank, we have Fast and Furious 1. For me, I went in this franchise not really knowing what to expect. I heard that it's gotten more Hollywood, I heard it's gotten more like out there and crazy, it's completely changed from what it originally was, which I understand. So when I jumped into this film, I was thinking to myself like, okay, I'm gonna watch probably the first one, and it's gonna be awful, and then I'll watch the second one, it's gonna be awful, and then I'm just gonna keep watching and be like, okay, I'm only doing this for the fans, I'm doing this for the fans. But you know what? I gotta admit, the first one definitely got me into this franchise.
Me too.
Do you know what I mean? I was actually blown away by like how good the film actually is, you know? I thought it was just gonna be, you know, a crappy early 2000s film, because there's plenty of those, you know? And it was actually very entertaining, and the story really pulled me in, as well as the characters. I think that the characters were written great. Of course, Dom and Paul Walker, you know, their
connection. I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
The idea of Dom like kind of inviting Paul into his group, and then we find out Paul's actually a cop.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like, whoa, like that gets you, and you're like, whoa, hold on a second here, Paul. What are you doing? What are you doing, Paul?
At first you're like, is he gonna throw him under the bus, or like what is he planning on doing?
Yeah, and then in the end he lets him go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do think it's a very intriguing film that spawned this huge franchise, and although the franchise is completely different from where it started out, you know, its roots are way different, you know? From the first film to the 8th film, you wouldn't even notice it's the same franchise. Like, if you could show someone the first film and show someone the 8th film, and they would not say, hey, that's Fast and Furious franchise, if you didn't tell them the title. Do you know what I mean? So, overall, that's our Fast and Furious franchise rankings. What are yours? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to see more of NetWife on the channel, let us know. Comments below. And remember to like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.